And welcome back, folks, to more Shibuya Scramble. Last time we played, we did a lot of Minarakawa's story, a lot of Maria's story. Aki got a bad end. Kano, we could do stuff with Kano. Minarakawa, we're on a keep out, and Osawa. We can do stuff with Osawa. So, who do we start with? Should we go Kano or should we go Osawa? The very little input you can do today. Kanan? I do not want others intruding into my domain. Accordingly, I do not intrude on others. That is how I've lived my life. That is how I've forged my sense of calm. But something has begun to drive me mad. The boundaries between myself and others have started to collapse. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I will become something other than myself. And that is one thing I fear I could never bear. Oh, no, you don't! Kajiwara tackled Tanaka as he strode towards the door. The two men collapsed in a heap in the front of the entryway. Hey! Tanaka barked. What are you doing? Hold still. Kajiwara ran his bug tracker over Tanaka's body. It began beeping loudly. Aha! Kajiwara pulled off Tanaka's necktie clip. It's a listening device. Tanaka's face went pale. Where did you get this? Kajiwara demanded. Well... Tanaka trailed off into silence. I gave it to him. It was I who had appeared on the second floor landing. You were listening in? Osawa asked brokenly. Ma'am, Kajiwara said, would you mind explaining this? For once, he seemed deadly serious. I was barely able to hear a thing. That's what I get for going with something so cheap. I held out a dangling earpiece. When and where did you get that? Earlier today, when I left to do some shopping. And why did you plant a listening device on Mr. Tanaka? Kajiwara asked. That's what I want to know, Tanaka chimed in. Why would you do this, Miss Osawa? He was trembling. You were outside emailing someone earlier, weren't you, Mr. Tanaka? I saw you from the window. Emailing? Kajiwara looked into Tanaka's face. I nodded. He came back into the house shortly afterwards, and I asked him where he'd gone. And what do you think he said, She was practically gloating, playing to her little audience. She began stalking down the stairs. He said he'd gone to check on something at the lab. Despite the fact that he was out in the yard there fiddling with his phone the whole time. So I figured if I bugged him, He might show his true colors and... Enough! Osawa cut his wife off. Tanaka had been emailing Hitomi, of course, but he couldn't reveal that now. I think I get what happened here, Kajiwara interposed. He folded his arms. Your wife thought that Mr. Tanaka was in contact with the kidnappers, and so she planted a listening device on him. The detective peered at Tanaka. Who were you emailing, sir? Yeah, that's right, I chirped. Show us your phone, Mr. Tanaka. Let's see what you were really up to. Or is there some reason you don't want to show us? Osawa started to panic. If the police checked the cell phone, they'd find the emails from Hitomi. And if the kidnappers somehow found out about that, Maria's life would be in danger. But I was still relentlessly advancing on Tanaka. Stop this! Darling? She turned to him in surprise. Tanaka was sending emails on my behalf, Osawa said. I asked him to do it. And just who was he emailing? It was... He needed to think of a lie fast. It was me. It was somebody from work. It was Pretty Honey. Ooh. What do we choose? Do we go with me? Do we go with someone from work? And do we go with Pretty Honey? It was Pretty Honey. The room went silent. Pretty what? Wait, what did you say? Kajiwara asked after a long, awkward moment. Honey, Osawa replied meekly. My apologies, I didn't quite catch that. One more time? Pretty Honey. Osawa's voice was scarcely audible. Pretty Honey? I asked, sounding ashamed on his behalf. Who's that? Osawa felt his cheeks burning. Of all the names he might have chose, why did he have to pick that one? Who is it, sir? Kajiwara demanded. He regarded Osawa's face keenly. A personal associate of mine. You wouldn't know them. Why ask Tanaka to send the messages? Kajiwara asked. Don't you have a computer in your study? Couldn't you have sent the emails yourself? My computer was having problems sending email. I'm not sure what was the issue. Look, the point is there's no reason to worry about Tanaka's emails. Now, I assume we're done here. I need Tanaka to run some emails for me. With that, Osawa opened the front door. Tanaka gave a quick bow and headed out to the door. Hey, wait! I started to go after him. Just calm down. Osawa barred the way. There's no way he's connected to the kidnappers. Can't you see that? His voice cracked, and he shuddered at the sudden rush of emotion. There, sir, Kajiwara said, consolingly. She's just deeply worried about your daughter. Oh, no trusting Tanaka. What do you mean? What's wrong with Tanaka? I'm sure he's not betraying everyone. I turned around and marched back upstairs. But still, if she is that worried, giving a tie clip as a gift seems a bit... Wait a minute. Tie clip? What the hell is that? Well, it's clothing accessory meant to hold one's necktie in place. In the old days, they were a quintessential part of the salaryman's outfit. along with the cufflinks and the company badge. Recently, tie clips have come back into vogue with some older men, now more frequently referred to as tie bars. Kajiwara's muttering trailed off. What do you mean? Osawa asked. Huh, nothing. Not important. The detective waved a hand dismissively. But there had been a definite note of suspicion in his voice. Well, back to work. Kajiwara headed back into the living room. Tie clip. That's what he was holding. Osawa returned to his study and sat in front of his computer. He had no desire to be in the presence of detectives who now crowded his living room. The Ayakamiki fan forum for people 40 and over was still open on his monitor. I mean, I should get in on that. He reloaded the page and saw that his earlier thread had gotten a reply. It was from Pretty Honey, a regular contributor to Osawa's threads. So Pretty Honey does exist. The username of someone who posts regularly on the Ayakamiki fan forum seems to know a lot about agriculture and the police, as evidenced by statements such as, if the world were a farm with 100 people, as well as a tendency to post on it to another site called the 87th Precinct Telecommunity. Incidentally, Shinya Kano's girlfriend Rumi also posts to the 87th Precinct Telecommunity from time to time. She has had several massive arguments with Pretty Honey there, with the latter criticizing the police for not doing their job, while Rumi insists that police work is very difficult and deserves more credit. Let's see who Shinya Kano is. Can't do it. Can't jump. I'm opposed to the idea of Ayakamiki expanding into America. Emoji mad. She should be able to enjoy the success she's earned in Japan without having to struggle overseas. Emoji upset. Or would that be upset or like dismissive? I don't know. Aya has done so much for us. I'd like her to keep supporting Japan forever. Emoji happy. The message was festooned. Why do we not have a what the hell is festoon mean? The sort of emoticons that a young girl might use. Pretty Honey claimed to be a 19-year-old female college student. Although the community was meant for Ayakamiki fans 40 and over, the settings allowed for anyone to post there. However, the only young woman among the members, however, was Pretty Honey. The thread continued. To adorn a place with chains, garlands, and other decorations. Oh. By the way, have you tried the Aya fortune teller yet? There's a link below. Emojis. Fortune telling, huh? The practice of determining a person's future luck or life events using cards, horoscopes, and or other methods of divination. Most people believe such prognostication when it foretells something good, and don't believe it when the outlook is bad. That's about as much faith in fortune telling as someone should have. Hey, 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 hey. What is that supposed to mean? Editor, what is that supposed to mean? Mega. Unlucky. Oh no. Osawa stared. Should he ask it whether Maria was safe? The channel is doomed. Well, guess I'll retire. Sorry guys, I'm retiring. The fortune telling told me I was mega unlucky. Wait a minute. Maybe I would be mega unlucky if I did retire and close the channel. Wait. Oh no. What do I do? If it gave him a good answer, he'd believe it. If it were a bad answer, he wouldn't. Might be worth a shot, just for the peace of mind I'd bring. Lucky, I'm seeing sore throat in your near future. That'll be 100 Canadian Monopoly monies. No, I need that. I need that for bagels. I say that, but I haven't eaten a bagel in like 9 months. Reappear as Unlucky 1X with 3 viewers. Streams 60 hours per day. Per day. Bagel time. What is that supposed to mean? I'm not gonna pull. I don't have a bagel. He clicked the link and the IF fortune telling page came up. It asked you to enter your birth date and sex, and then Aya Kamiki would offer her advice. That seems like a good old fishing program. Osawa followed the instructions, entering his date of birth, selecting male, and clicking next. A few seconds later, his fortune was displayed. You are a very work-minded person. He'd hoped for some insight on Maria, but instead it was just a write-up about his personality. You'd never be able to get by without the devoted support of those around you, but you probably don't realize that, do you? It's a big mistake to think you can get through all of life's challenges on your own. There's nothing cool about being ignorant. Oh, this is hitting me hard. If you don't get your own indifference to the world, if you don't get over your indifference to the world might start to harbor quite a grudge. Find a way to connect more deeply with the people around you and start living a better life before it's too late. It's true. So how you guys doing? Let's connect more deeply. Just do that, and you're sure to have a wonderful future ahead. Famous people who got your result. Shinosuke Orai. Oh, it's the guy. The head of the Wandering Angels theater troupe. He has an interview appointment with Minoru Minorikawa at 2:30 this afternoon. He's just doing it to get more of our money. Damn, how did he know? How did he know? Osawa couldn't help but feel the advice was painfully appropriate. He went back to the forum and replied to Pretty Honey. Nice to hear from you again, Pretty Honey. I definitely know how you feel about Aya Kamiki being ours. Still, I'm confident she's got what it takes to persevere and succeed in America. And if she does fail, well, all of us in Japan will be here to welcome her back all the same. I guess this voyage to America I've concocted just has me a little worked up. Emoji. Osawa clicked post and leaned back in his chair. Yeah, that's what you do. When you write up a message and then you post it and then you're like, oh yeah, that was a good one. My work here is done. I guess that's how Twitter users feel. I mean, influencers. Mr. Osawa, Mr. Osawa. It was Kajiwara shouting from outside the door. First the toilet, then lunch. What is it now? There's been a development in the case. Please join us in the living room. We have important matters to discuss. Kajiwara had his detective face on. You're an influencer. I don't influence nothing, buddy. Buddy boy. When Osawa entered the living room, I was already there, looking stern and solemn. Now that you're both here, Kajiwara said, allow me to share what we know. We've identified a location that appears to be the Syndicate's hideout. You want to know how influencers really feel? Achoo. I don't get it. You have? What about Maria? Is she there? Osawa exclaimed. We still haven't been able to ascertain whether your daughter is safe. Well, what were these important matters you needed to discuss? Osawa felt a wave of anxiety rush through him. The hideout in question is a condominium in Hiru, and it's owned by whomst? Whomst? Mr. Osawa, please calm down. Tell me. Go on, out with it. It's a stupid pun, carry on. No, now I want to know. If it's a good joke, I want to know. If it's a bad joke, I especially want to know. So I can steal it. Kajiwara took a deep breath. The residence is owned by evil. By Mamoru Tanaka. What? What? Osawa was speechless. Tanaka was evil all along? He couldn't process what he was hearing. Tanaka? Lies! I shrieked. What are you implying? That Mr. Tanaka is the kidnapper? Where's the proof? With all due respect, ma'am, weren't you suspicious of Mr. Tanaka yourself? Well, I suppose, but he did so far as to stick a listening device on him. Flustered, I withdrew into a vacant silence. The sudden ringing of the phone startled everyone in the room. Was that Tanaka? No, it couldn't be. There was no way. The phone was wiretapped. The detective wearing the headset nodded to Kajiwara, who in turn motioned for Osawa to pick up. Hello? He said cautiously. Hello. Is this the home of Maria Osawa? The voice was not of Tanaka's. Osawa didn't recognize it, but the veil of despair that hung before him thinned slightly. Like, influencer is a person with influenza and spread. Oh. Yeah, that was pretty bad. But good job. I like it. How can I highlight a message so we can keep it forever? This time, the man on the phone used Hitomi's name instead. Yes, that's right. VIP, then ban him. For that one, Tarthur, you get 1/128th of a VIP. No, 1/96th of a VIP. Yes, that's right. The caller immediately hung up. Osawa stood there, dumbstruck. Kajiwara gently took the receiver and hung up the phone. One of the detectives addressed Kajiwara. We've traced the source of the call to a cell phone. Also, we've pinpointed the base station used. Informed the director Kuze so he can prepare a team just in case. Just in case, Osawa asked. What do you mean by that? Kajiwara frowned slightly. Just because this is a kidnapping case doesn't mean every phone call comes from the kidnapper. We'll look into it, of course, but... I see. Besides, right now, confirming Mr. Tanaka's whereabouts takes priority. Don't you agree? Osawa nodded. Someone should call him, the detective added. I'll do it. Ai got out her cell phone and dialed up Tanaka. Where was Mr. Tanaka headed? Kajiwara asked. He eyed Osawa keenly. To work, I sent him to pick up some documents. I don't actually know. Now, meanwhile, I'm gonna go make some coffee. I'll be right back. All right, B. I don't actually know. You're probably gonna hear the coffee machine in the background. Even leaving out the part about Hitomi, that was still the truth. If Tanaka was behind the kidnapping, Osawa knew he ought to tell the police about the blue minivan and the emails from his daughter. But part of him still trusted Tanaka deep down, and he couldn't bring himself to reveal it all. You know, I might get myself a coffee machine. Not an espresso machine, because I got one, but a coffee machine with that tax return. We have investigators en route to Tanaka's condominium, Kajiwara said. Let's wait for them to report in. On the far side of the room, I was squawking in frustration. Despite several attempts, she hadn't been able to get through Tanaka. Kajiwara's phone rang and he pulled it out of his pocket. Kano? What's going on? He headed into one corner as he spoke into the receiver. I suppose that'd be alright. What for, though? After a few more quiet words, Kajiwara held out his phone to Osawa. One of the investigators on the scene would like to speak with you. Frowning in confusion, Osawa took hold of the phone. Osawa speaking, can I help you? This is Detective Kano from the Shibuya precinct. Time is critical, so I need to cut to the chase here. There was a pause as the speaker took a deep breath before continuing. Did you give the antiviral drug to your daughter Hitomi? What? Osawa was so startled that his voice caught in his throat. What are you talking about? The antiviral research was top secret. So how did some detective from the Shibuya precinct know about it? Who? Can't do it. Can't jump. Osawa was bewildered. I'm the one asking the questions here, Mr. Osawa. Did you give the antiviral drug to your daughter Hitomi? I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you repeat the question? I know what this syndicate is really after, Mr. Osawa. Osawa's mind went blank when he heard what Kano said next. He could give no reply. Mr. Osawa? The detective continued after a moment. Is everything all right? Without really thinking, Osawa hung up. They were after the virus? Did he mean the UA virus kept at the lab? Wait, hold on. The detective had to be wrong about that. The kidnappers must have the UA virus already. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to do what I did to Hitomi. Do not look away. These are your crimes. At last, Osawa understood what those emails from A were all about. They were a preview of the tragedy that was yet to unfold. The kidnappers probably meant to start the main event soon. It might be already too late to stop them. Mr. Osawa, Kajiwara asked, are you all right? The detective gazed with concern into Osawa's ashen face. Bracing himself, Osawa spoke up, his voice hoarse and dry. The killer virus is about to be unleashed in Tokyo, and I know who's responsible. It's me. What? The sudden confession caused the detectives on site to stir like a hornet's nest. Please arrest me. Wait, this is a serious story? Of course. Feeling the weight of his crimes crushing down on him, Osawa dropped his gaze to the floor. He held out both his wrists. I'll tell you everything down at the station, he said. Anything you need to know. Osawa imagined bodies dropping left and right. There were limits to what might be cured by the small stockpile of antiviral his lab currently contained. If they were unable to quarantine the infected in time, then Shibuya, no, all of Japan might be engulfed in a pandemic that the drug could never stop. What is a pandemic? I don't know what that is. Do you guys know what a pandemic is? Well, it's a massive outbreak of a particular infection on a regional or global scale. In the 14th century Europe, a massive cholera outbreak is said to have killed 2/3 of the population. And the Spanish flu outbreak in the early 20th century killed at least 25 million people worldwide. Given modern advances in transportation, some researchers are of the opinion that the global risk of a pandemic is higher than ever before. He could only hope his complying with the authorities might help stop the spread of the infection before it was too late. Oh no! It's dropping bombs! Bad end! Guilty Conscience. This is a pretty good Eminem CD. No, that was a song. Was it the CD? Was it the LP? All right, so who dost we do? They did Raccoon City, Tokyo. Somebody spilled jam on my throat. Canaan? What's Canaan? The stench of strawberry jam hung heavy in the basement bar. Stanley was silent, staring at the criminal's corpse. Hey, do you know anything about this? Kano asked. Still, Stanley gave no response. Silent treatment again, huh? Kano huffed. The American. Like you, I'm American. Glanced at him gravely. In all likelihood, the one who did this was acting alone. Alone? Against this many other people? Who on earth? There's no need for you to know. Cut the crap! Kano snapped. He grabbed Stanley by the collar. If there's somebody involved in this case who's capable of something like this, I need to know about it. How am I supposed to do my job if you keep me in the dark? Kano remained stone-faced. Look, I'm not afraid of the risks, Kano said. And I'll be a lot more effective if you at least fill me in on the basics here. The more you know, the sooner you'll wind up dead. Kano tightened his grip. But it's okay if I wind up dead while I'm still in the dark, huh? Fine, Stanley said. I'll answer your first question. He brushed Kano's arm aside. Kanan is the name of a covert operative from the Middle East. What is a covert operative? Well, in simple terms, it's a type of spy that infiltrates hostile territory to carry out various clandestine activities. Oh, okay. I believe she's the one who killed these people here. The Middle East? A covert operative? Metal Gear? Oh, I don't know about this one, Snake. Kano hadn't expected spycraft to be involved with this. Yes, she's an assassin and a cryptanalysis specialist. Oh, she's into crypto. Do you recall the mass jailbreak from Abu Ghraib prison a while back? It's a prison in Iraq, west of Baghdad. Under the Hussein government, it was an internment facility for political prisoners, but following the Iraq War, it was used by the U.S. Army to house prisoners of war. In April of 2004, photographs of detainees being tortured by U.S. soldiers were released, causing a massive scandal. President Bush later made the decision to have the facility demolished. Kanan was one who provided the intel the escapees used to get out. Kano was at a loss for words. The case was suddenly starting to seem a whole lot more sinister. Whoever this Kanan was, she'd apparently killed nearly a dozen people with only a knife. She was clearly no one to trifle with. Just what kind of individual were they dealing with here? I mean, you know, Kanan doesn't look like an assassin. Let's be real here. How do you take out 12 guys with one knife? You know what I mean? This ain't anime. This ain't video games. Oh wait, it is a video game. Wait a minute. Once again, Kano surveyed the crime scene. Each of the murdered criminals had his throat slit with a butter knife and strawberry jam. From the look of the deep, clean cuts, the killer hadn't hesitated in the slightest. Okay, so then what connection does this Kanan have with the mastermind behind this kidnapping? If Kanan had killed all the foreign syndicate members in this bar, did that mean she and the persons behind the kidnapping were enemies? Or perhaps she and the kidnapper were working in concert, and she'd carried out these slayings as part of some plan to get rid of some loose ends? I believe I said I'd answer one question. Turning away, Stanley picked up a file from atop the nearby table. Oh, it's like a Resident Evil game. 4. Itchy. Tasty. Apparently, he wasn't in the sharing mood. Realizing that further questions would be pointless, Kano peered sidelong at the file as Stanley opened it. Inside was a detailed map of Shibuya. There were various routes marked with arrows and lines and times and limes. That's the plan for the ransom relay. Kano was so excited he blurted his thoughts out loud. It appeared that the ultimate goal for the ransom was a condominium. The address and the time 1420 were written in red ink. So that's why the guy wanted to know the time. Kano put in an immediate call to the investigation task force to relay this information. The Final Destination is a terrible movie. Is Ground Hill 405 in Hiru 534 Shibuya. All right, Kuze told him. We'll look into who owns the condo in question. You and Stanley head over there now. I'm sending backup to go in with you. You have authorization to apprehend the suspects. Finally, hearing the order that he'd so long been waiting for, Kano felt a spark of determination flare inside of him. All right, let's go, he said, some of his excitement slipping into his voice. Stanley, still solemn, closed the file and followed him out of the bar. Stanley drove along Inokashira Dori towards Hiru, where the finish line for the ransom relay was located. His demeanor was cold and brooding, in sharp contrast with Kano's gung-ho readiness. He seemed lost in some deep and cheerless thought. Kuze's voice came in over the wireless as the car came out of Meiji-dori. Came out onto Meiji-dori. We've identified the owner of the condominium. It's... Kano held his breath in anticipation. The name Kuze spoke caught him by surprise entirely. Keep out! Nani? To work. I sent him to pick up some documents. A necessary lie. If Tanaka was behind the kidnapping, Osawa knew he ought to tell the police about the blue minivan and the emails from Hitomi. But still, he couldn't believe that his assistant really was the culprit. We have investigators en route to Tanaka's condominium. Let's wait for them to report in. On the far side of the room, I was squawking in frustration. Despite several attempts, she hadn't been able to get through to Tanaka. Kajiwara's phone rang and he pulled it from his pocket. Kano, what's going on? Yeah, okay, we already did this. I wonder if there was a... if there was a jump. Aww. Wait a minute. Kano's blocked at 10, and there was a jump here. Ready, honey? Festooned. Whoa, double bots. I want to become famous. I'll sell anything. Everything. Oh, wait, I think I had to... I had to check out Pretty Honey. You have nothing to sell, you're right. There we go. There's the jump. It's Mamoru Tanaka. He's a colleague of Kenji Osawa. What? Kano squawked. A lot of squawking today. So it's a bird stream. This was an unexpected twist. Kajiwara confirms that Tanaka left the Osawa residence just after 1400 hours. No word on his movements since then. It's possible he headed to his private condo where the attaché case is slated to end up. Any officer who runs across Tanaka is to apprehend him on sight. Because they cut the connection. This mastermind you've been chasing, Kano asked. Is it Tanaka? Stanley didn't reply. Fine, never mind. I just wished I could know if Tatano is safe. Who? Still worried about that traitor, huh? Oh yeah, the detective. So Stanley could ignore all of his questions, but still remembers to make snide remarks. Talking about Tatano is the only thing that gets a reaction out of you, isn't it? Kano snorted. What makes you so certain he can't be a traitor? Tatano just isn't like that. That's not an answer, Stanley scoffed. Oh wait, we have to do the deep voice. Alright, I've watched the man work for years. I know him. He has no reason to betray the Force. You've watched him work, huh? What about his private life then? You know all about that too? He hasn't had any money problem or anything like that? Kano felt his blood starting to boil. I don't care what you think, he said. I trust Detective Tatano. Trust him? On what basis? I don't need any basis to have faith in someone, Kano snapped. Without any basis, in fact, it's just plain sentimentality, Kano said. There's no reason or logic to it. A thin smile came to his face. Be they friends or family, You can never really know other people. The only person you can trust is yourself. Kano had no response for such an emotionless statement. He looked away. Do we really know Lucky? No, actually. You don't. And I don't know you guys. I don't really know you guys. Without basis, you cannot say what is based and what is cringe. That's true. He and Stanley were just plain incompatible. It seems like no amount of talking would let them get through to one another. Never take anything at face value, Kano. You start trusting too much, you're basically as good as dead. Kano just stared out the window. Shibuya's precinct came into view. Tanaka's condo wasn't much further now. They were outside of Tanaka's condo now. Over there, Kano said, keeping his voice down. Over there. I tried to go lower, I couldn't do it. Across the street was one of the foreign syndicate members, walking briskly, the attaché case clutched in his side. I'm making the arrests! Kano, wait! Stanley exclaimed. Kano heard him loud and clear, but he had no intention of stopping. He approached the criminal at full speed, then leapt to tackle him across the waist. The two men fell to the pavement in a tangled heap. The collision sent the attaché case flying. Kano's eyes tracked the case for a moment too long. He was caught off guard when the man threw a punch at him. Bam! The blow caught him right in the jaw. Ouch. Snapping his head back. For a moment, Kano saw stars. He shook. As he shook off the impact, the man sprang to his feet and sprinted away in the direction of Stanley's car. Stanley! Kano shouted. Grab him! Get the case! What thus do we do? Get the case! Stanley headed for the attaché case while Kano went after the suspect. Suddenly, the fleeing man skidded to a stop. Several cars had pulled across the road ahead, and the detectives were pouring out of them. His escape route cut off, the criminal resigned himself to capture. While Kano helped make the arrest, several of the other detectives broke into Tanaka's condo. Stanley, meanwhile, was carefully inspecting the exterior of the attaché case. He'd already opened it. It was stuffed with bundles of banknotes. The 50 million yen ransom was back in police hands. This is a decoy, the American muttered under his breath. I wonder where. His words trailed off, but Kano had heard them. What did you expect? The detective demanded. Samples of that new drug in there? As usual, Stanley gave no reply. The look on his face, however, told Kano he'd been right on the mark. Some of the backup team emerged from Tanaka's condo. Kano turned to them, feeling a sudden surge of anxiety for Maria. What's the situation in there? He asked. They told him that they found no one in Tanaka's rooms. So the hostage's status remained unknown, and the main culprit had evaded capture. This case hadn't been solved. In fact, it was still unfolding in the worst way conceivable. And still, Stanley remained focused on the attaché case, pondering it with a thoughtful expression. Look, Kano told him, I'm going to request that I be returned to my normal duties. Maria still needs to be rescued, and I still need to find out what happened to Hitomi and Detective Tatno. For once, Stanley actually responded, Hitomi? Yes, that's it. It makes perfect sense that they'd have her carry it. Huh? What do you mean? This whole attaché case relay was a fake out. Whoa, hold down, slow down there, Kano said, wishing he would calm himself with his words. Explain what you're talking about. Somehow, the kidnappers made contact with Kenji Osawa and got him to have Hitomi carry the drug, separate from the ransom. Wait, you're saying they had Hitomi bring them the drug? Stanley nodded. The case handoffs were a sort of camouflage, a way for them to keep the police distracted from the real goal. Kano nodded. It had indeed felt like the case relay was a decoy, an attempt to buy time. If this syndicate were after something else entirely, that would explain why so many of their actions had appeared to make no sense. So, what sort of drug is this? Why would they go to such lengths to get their hands on it? It's an antiviral, Stanley replied after some hesitation. A way to cure people infected with a very particular virus. What virus are we talking about? It's called UA. Kano never heard of it. Still, he could imagine the possibilities. Suppose this UA was something like the Ebola virus. Discovered in Sudan in 1976, infection caused Ebola hemorrhagic fever, resulting in a high fever and massive bleeding throughout the whole body. At present, there is no vaccine to prevent infection, nor any drug to cure the disease after it manifests. Or perhaps HIV. What is HIV? Human immunodeficiency virus. HIV destroys the cells that are essential for regulating cell-mediated immunity, considerably reducing immune response. This effect can result in infections that would ordinarily be fought off easily, developing into serious illnesses. There are various treatments, but as of yet, nothing that will eradicate the virus completely. Even the all-too-familiar influenza. No, not influenza. Imagine if that got spread. An infectious disease caused by the influenza virus. Its symptoms are similar to that of the common cold, but are much more severe, occasionally resulting in death. There are three main types of the virus: A, B, C, with an A, and an O, and a V, and an I, and a D, and B, causing the typical run of the illness in humans. Neuraminidase is recommended as an effective inhibitor, but this merely alleviates the symptoms and is not a complete cure. There were medicines that could treat all of those diseases, but nothing that could cure them completely. Any drug could do that, would also be worth vast sums of money. skip reading vocab explanations we already know. Oh, that's the fun part. Okay. Kano, do you have any means of getting in touch with Mr. Osawa? Yes, I know one of the detectives stationed at his home. Check with him ASAP. What is ASAP? Find out whether or not he gave the antiviral to Hitomi. No, he gave the antiviral to Maria, and it's in her pendant. Kano suppressed the scowl. It looked like he wasn't done assisting Stanley yet. Got out his cell phone and dialed up Kajiwara. No, I knew what ASAP meant. That it was a joke. Kajiwara picked up promptly. Kano? What's going on? Can I speak with Mr. Osawa? I suppose that'd be alright. What for, though? There's something I need him to confirm for me. It's an emergency. Alright, just make sure not to tell him anything about the investigation. Sure thing, boss. After a while, a man's hoarse voice came over the line. Osawa speaking. Can I help you? This is Detective Kano from Shibuya Precinct. Time is critical. So I need just to cut to the chase here. Kano took a deep breath. Did you give the antiviral drug to your daughter Hitomi? Osawa let out a gasp. Keep out? What? Impossible. However, we already know where the jump is. Jump? What? What are you talking about? Jump. Did you give the antiviral drug to your daughter Hitomi? Osawa let out a gasp. What are you talking about? I'm the one asking the questions here, Mr. Osawa. Did you give the antiviral drug to your daughter Hitomi? I'm not sure I understand the question. Is Bearsuit line done? Yes. Bearsuit was actually Maria, the twin of Hitomi. Osawa's voice trembled as he spoke. Kano was sure he hit the nail right on the head. I know what this syndicate is really after, Mr. Osawa. It's the virus. It's you. It's Hitomi. Well, we know it's the virus. Osawa remained silent. Oh! Jump! What? What are you talking about? Osawa was bewildered. I'm the one asking the questions here, Mr. Osawa. Did you give the antiviral drug to your daughter Hitomi? Yeah, we might get the bad ending, though. I'm not sure I understand. Can you repeat the question? I know what this syndicate is really after, Mr. Osawa. Osawa's mind went blank when he heard what Kano said next. He could give no reply. Mr. Osawa? The detective continued after a moment. Is everything all right? Might tell him it's Hitomi. I don't know. Because remember, when Minorikawa met Osawa, he was getting cuffed and pulled out. So I don't know. Now see, no, never mind. Here comes the bomb. Why does a bomb need a parachute? I'm actually curious to know. It's Hitomi. Osawa remains silent. If it goes too fast, it won't detonate. Oh, okay. Osawa staggered out of the living room. He needed to be alone. To his surprise, Kajiwara didn't try to stop him. Shutting his study door behind him, he dropped onto the sofa and grabbed 3 times his normal dosage of stomach pills. There was no water in the room, so he had to swallow them dry. Ugh. That's the worst. And they get caught in your throat, and you're like... Detective Kano's words echoed in his mind. I know what the syndicate is really after, Mr. Osawa. It's Hitomi. There was only one reason they could be after Hitomi. He broke out in a cold sweat as he began to understand what this kidnapping was really about. It had all started 6 days earlier. It was April 2022. Osawa had just returned from the United States. The day... America. He was in the midst of some routine work at the General Research Lab when his cell phone rang. The LCD display showed an unlisted caller. With some hesitation, Osawa picked up. Hello? Is this Kenji Osawa? The caller was using a voice modulator. Oh, what is a voice? Wait a minute. No, can't use a voice modulator. We don't know. We know already, so it's okay. Osawa raised an eyebrow. Yes?
Go and analyze Hitomi's blood.
Her blood?
If you don't, she is going to die.
With that, the caller hung up. The caller hung up. There was an intensity behind this that made Osawa sure it wasn't some prank call. He had Hitomi come into the lab ASAP. He told Hitomi he wanted a sample of her blood for an experiment. She agreed, suspecting nothing. He placed some of the blood he'd drawn into a glass slide, and he added some fluorescein, a type of fluorescent dye. Well, I don't know what that is. Actually don't know what that is. Can we have a bit of your blood for an experiment? No, my blood is sacred. A yellow-green liquid, a type of fluorescent dye, chiefly used in preparing specimens for viewing under a fluorescent microscope. But it has other uses as well, such as a diagnostic reagent administered in eye exams. Its highest volume use is on St. Patrick's Day, when massive amounts of fluorescent are... Oh! So that's how they do it. When massive amounts of fluorescent are used to dye the Chicago River green. Do they still do that? Wasn't St. Patrick's Day like a week ago? A type of dye that causes the dyed substance to emit a higher wavelength fluorescent light when illuminated with a certain other type of light. Such dyes can reveal fine details when used on specimens viewing through a fluorescent microscope. Placing the slide under a fluorescence microscope, he took a look. It can't be. Osawa could hardly believe his eyes. Wriggling under the microscope was the Grim Reaper's sickle itself. There was no mistaking it. Hitomi was infected with the UA virus. What? Trembling, Osawa hurried to his computer. He opened the UA virus folder on his monitor. Within were images showing the stages of the virus's propagation. He double-clicked to magnify the first image. The Reaper's sickles were interlocked with one another. You can't see a virus with a microscope. What? Was this all a lie? Clicked on the next image. After further propagation, the UA virus looked less like a sickle, more like an insectoid larva. Oh no. You won't eat the bugs. You will be the bugs. Next was the final image. Interlocked into a single mass, the UA virus vaguely resembled a sinister, many-petaled sunflower. I don't see the sunflower in there. It looks like a bunch of spaghettis. It took a mere 12 hours for the pathogen to develop to this point and began its hideous destruction of the human body. Hitomi's infection sample was still in the state shown in the first image. There was still a chance to save her. Osawa slumped back in his chair, huddling on himself. Oh, maybe that's why they're trying to kill Hitomi, because she's infected with the killer virus. He had no choice. There was only one way to save Hitomi. He would have to administer the nearly completed antiviral. Using the antiviral without official approval was a grievous violation of company policy. Oh wait, no, we already know that, so we don't read it. Still, Osawa didn't have time to get the higher-ups to approve a clinical trial. He might be punished severely for it, but this was his only option. His daughter's life was at stake. There was also another, even bigger hurdle his way. I don't remember. Sorry. If you want to complain, complain to Yashibe, who doesn't want fun. The antiviral drug was stored in the deepest recesses of the biochemical research building. Yeah, that's right. How long does a curry last? Max duration 20 minutes. Oh, say I put a time limit now. The antiviral drug was stored in the deepest recesses of the biochemical research the building. A high-intensity X-ray scanner, well, we know what X-ray is, was set up at the entrance to the storage area, and it made it impossible for him to take research materials out. Well, if he couldn't get the antiviral out of there, he'd just have to bring Hitomi in. Of course, a course of action quickly took shape in his mind. First, he'd need to slip out of the general research building. He would then head to the biochemical research facility and show his ID card. We know what it is. To the guard at the front gate. My IQ is literally dropping from having to skip those info blurbs. I know. I wanted to educate you guys, but clearly it's not going to happen. After passing through a lobby under the watchful gaze of several security cameras, he'd reach an elevator at the end of the hall that went directly to the storage section. Me brain! This elevator required an ID card to scan to operate. Jeez, is this a Resident Evil lab? After that, you need to collect 4 keys. A wolf medal, an eagle medal, it would take about 20 seconds to get down to the first basement level and arrive at the entrance to the storage area. Finding an excuse to get Hitomi that far ought to be doable, but if the security guard got suspicious, Osawa could say it's for a top secret hematology experiment, and the guard would probably believe him. The problem is what comes after. Getting into the storage area itself required a fingerprint authentication from both Osawa and Tanaka. This meant he couldn't possibly get the antiviral without Tanaka's cooperation. Desperate with uncertainty, Osawa called up Tanaka. We frantically explained the situation. Understood, Tanaka replied. We need to get her this drug as soon as possible. If the company finds out about this, he'll be held accountable for violation of corporate policy along with me. Are you sure you're okay with that? What are you talking about? Hitomi's life is more important than company policy. Tanaka spoke without hesitation. Osawa felt an immense surge of gratitude for his assistant. I wonder though, like if he infected her deliberately so they could have samples of the antiviral, or to see if the antiviral actually worked. I have to say, I'm deeply moved by your determination, Tanaka added. Moved? Whatever for? You really are worried about Hitomi. Osawa's gratitude faded. What are you talking about? Of course I am. My apologies. It's just that putting your career on the line for something so personal is... It's what? It's not like me? No? Well, yes. I'm sorry. Now Tanaka's voice was colored with embarrassment. What sort of person do you think I am? Osawa resisted the urge to ask the questions out loud. Isn't the UA virus super contagious though? Unless it hasn't muted though. didn't have time to palpate. A short time later, Osawa and Tanaka stood before the door of the secure storage area. The security guard had let them in without the slightest suspicion. Osawa pressed his index finger to the fingerprint scanner first. Accepted. He realized he'd been holding his breath as his authorization finally went through. Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's no pulp right now. Accepted. The lock released with an audible clang, and the heavy door opened. Osawa hurried to retrieve the antiviral. As he picked up a small vial, he had a sudden realization. They were finally going to use the drug in a human test. His fatherly wish to cure Hitomi was overlaid by an intense rush of curiosity, the researcher's drive to discover his result. Hurry, I need to hurry. I need to administer the antiviral as soon as possible. Osawa could hardly fend off his excitement. Over the course of the next few hours following the injection, the UA virus would be eradicated from Hitomi's body. There had been some fever and cramping as temporary side effects, but the DDS had done a spectacular job of stopping out the virus. What is DDF? It's a drug delivery system, also known as smart drug delivery. The ability to target a specific region of the body with a specific drug has momentous implications for the future of medicine. DDS technology is currently being tested extensively around the world. In saving his daughter's life, Osawa had proven the value of his research. If he had been asked which made him happier, he would have been hard-pressed to give an answer. Damn. Roll back and read all the skipped blurbs. No. Oh, don't do that to me. Okay, ID card. An ID card is an identification card. Many facilities that carry out highly classified research assign different levels of security clearance to individual researchers, and only those with suitable clearance, as indicated by their ID cards, are admitted to restricted areas. Development of more advanced technologies, such as electronic ID tags, or replacing older barcode type entry cards. What is X-ray? Well, it's a type of radiation, also referred to as Rontgen rays. Rontgen rays, with a shorter wavelength than UV light, but a longer wavelength than gamma ray. Gamma ray. Because X-rays can penetrate many objects with little absorption or scattering. It can be used to create images of internal structure. Hospitals, for example, use X-ray technology to examine the insides of patient bodies, while security personnel use it to scan luggage at airports to search for bombs. Add the educational tag to Shibuya streams. Oh, you guys are too much, man. If I get in trouble because of that, I'm going to be so mad. It's done. Okay, what? Oh, no. What is a violation of company policy? Well, it's acting against company rules. Use the chipmunk voice when reading info blurbs. You guys are... You guys...
Acting against company rules and regulation, Okoshi Pharmaceutical prevents leaking work-related information to outsiders. In any case of a major violation, Not only can the violator be fired, but the company may also seek indemnities.
Play the life lesson music, you guys. We did fluorescent voice modulator. We didn't do that one.
Voice modulator, a type of device or software used to make one's voice sound different. Changing a voice to the point of making a voice print or tone analysis impossible presents a major challenge. To be able to do so in real life requires major financial and technological resources.
I think that's all of them, though. So. Afterwards, he asked Hitomi where she could have become infected, but she had no idea. He explained the need for secrecy and strictly forbade her from telling anyone else what had happened. Now a week had passed since Osawa gave the drug to Hitomi. He had been conducting checks and had discovered that the DDS had not broken down, but remained in Hitomi's bloodstream. Extracting the DDS was a simple matter, requiring just a small blood sample from just a small blood sample from around the nape of the neck. Let me take some water here.
The DDS tends to linger in the nape of the neck because of the lymph nodes located there. These lymph nodes identify viruses that invade the body as foreign substances to be attacked. But they're not always able to overcome particularly powerful pathogens. In such cases, the virus propagates rapidly inside of them. Once the patient has been treated, the antiviral will seek out the virus and accumulate there as well.
After 20 minutes, I'm ending that real quick. The DDS itself was simply the delivery system for the antiviral drug. Oh no! Oh, residual? What does that mean?
The materials used to create DDS must, as a matter of course, cause minimal or no harm to the human body. Ideally, rather than accumulate itself inside the body, the DDS substances should be either digested or absorbed or excreted. Because the antiviral must remain in the body for as long as the virus is active, however, a very careful balance must be struck between persistence and dissipation.
Info squirrel emote when. Using the DDS, it was possible to extract those minuscule jeez. Those minuscule amounts from cells in a blood sample. It might take considerable time, but a sufficiently detailed analysis could allow for the antiviral drug itself to be reconstructed. Osawa felt a chill as he contemplated the situation. The kidnappers had known how tough security was at the lab, so they'd come up with the idea of using a human vessel to get what they needed from within. Ah, so that's how it is. By infecting Hitomi with the UA virus, they'd ensured that they received the antiviral, and she would have it in her blood. If Tanaka was working with the kidnappers, that would explain why he would be so cooperative about the fingerprint scanner. Darn it! Osawa shouted. He clutched his head in his hands. Tanaka had been his partner and trusted confidant for years. Osawa refused to believe he had been betrayed like this. The front door chime sounded. Mr. Osawa, Kajiwara called out, it appears you have a visitor. Could you handle that? Is that Minarakawa? It sure is. Zoop. Every sentence scares Lucky. That's right. Here we go. Osawa. I can read that. I can't read that. He walked up to the gate and pressed the button for the intercom. Even the little chime it made when pressed sounded elegant. Minarakawa waited, but there was no response. He looked at his watch. It was 2:30 now. His interview with Shinosuke Arai of the Wandering Angels was supposed to have started already. Still, he wanted to meet with the twins first if it was possible. Decided to wait a bit longer, or decided to give up and head to the next interview. Hey, BB. Well, I'll have to come back later. Minarakawa decided he'd better get to his next interview. He started to head back towards the taxi. A woman's voice came through the intercom. Who is it? It's Minarakawa. And where would I know you from, Mr. Minarakawa? Oh, you know, here and there. I mean, there's only one Minarakawa, really. I don't have time for such nonsense. Please, be on your way. I'm not going anywhere until I get an interview. Interview? Who are you with? The woman's tone has changed now. Maybe Minarakawa could simply talk his way through this. This is a piece for the 4-star general gossip. Ah, perfect. I've been wanting to talk to them. Was this one of the Miss Minarayama winners? Or perhaps it was the girl's mother, eager to boast about her daughter's achievements. I assume you're familiar with the defamation of character, the woman said. Huh? What are you talking about? Article 230 of the Penal Code of Japan defines as any attack against a person's reputation or societal standing. It's a very serious crime. I know what it is. What's your point? He had a bad feeling about this. Why discuss libel laws right before an interview? Oh, I'm not letting you get away with telling me what you've forgotten. I wonder if you'll remember once I bring up charges. Her tone was calm and level, but laced with malice. You're talking nonsense, lady. Are you the mother? I got business with your daughters. Put one of them on the line. Nonsense? The woman's wrath radiated from the intercom. It's your 4-star general gossip that specializes in nonsense. Her voice was so loud that it was cracking. Detective, arrest this man. He's a criminal. Detective, huh? You don't think I'd fall for that, do you, lady? Just who do you think I am? I'm Minaru Minarakawa. He crossed his arms and struck a defiant pose. Uh-oh. The front door opened up and several men came trotting out. Sir, one of the men said, I'd like to ask you a few questions. At the word, sir, the man flashed his badge. And Minarakawa turned to run on reflex. He had thought she'd actually send detectives after him. Just what the hell had Heaven Publishing done to her? Never mind, he needed to get out of here. He couldn't afford to get arrested right now. Oh no! Out with it. You abducted that girl, didn't you? Detective, you keep asking me the same question over and over. I'll keep asking until you tell me the truth. Look, ask all you want, but I can't tell you what I don't know. Then let's go back to the beginning, shall we? Oh, cut the crap. I don't have time for your games. As a matter of fact, you have plenty of time. I can assure you that. The stubborn detective flashed him a grin. I can keep doing this for days. If that's what it takes to get you to confess. Oh no! And so the interrogation went on for hours. In the end, once his innocence had been established, Minorikawa was finally released. He wrote a scathing indictment on his experience. The report shook up the system in a major way, but that's another story for another day. Wrongly accused. Bad endo. What if we wait a bit longer? Same thing. Ah, okay. All right. With a sigh, Osawa dragged himself to his feet. He stumbled wearily back to the living room, where the investigators were staring at the intercom monitor with concern. The intercom's hidden camera showed a man with an unsettling grin posed intimidatingly outside of the front gate. I'm slurring right now because we're nearing the end. So Osawa didn't recognize him. Yes, who is it? He asked guardedly through the intercom. Zoolander look. Zoolander looking ass. It's Minorikawa. Where might I know you from, Mr. Minorikawa? Here and there. I mean, there's only one Minorikawa, really. Are you playing games with me? I don't have time for that. Please, just open up. There's no way I'm letting you in, Osawa said. But the nonsensical badgering continued. Look, just hold your horses. I'm here for an interview. You got that? An interview? That's right. It's a piece for 4-star general gossip. The name of the magazine brought up an unpleasant memory. That was the gossip rag that had run the article about his political marriage. Wait. Is this for one of those kinds of articles? What do you mean, those kinds of articles? I'm just looking for an interview. The man's tone was both high-handed and belligerent. Like hell you are. I'm not talking to anyone from the gossip. You're not the one I'm here to talk to. I want to interview your twin daughters. My daughters? I understand they won a shared prize for the beauty contest at Minoriyama Academy. If you wouldn't mind my interviewing them, Furious, Osawa cut off the intercom. This was no time to be indulging someone else's nonsense. Hey, what gives? The man was shouting so loud his voice carried past the gate and through the front door. I'm begging you out here. I'm begging out here on my hands and knees. He wasn't actually on his hands and knees. Osawa could see that clearly through the intercom monitor. If your daughters aren't home, can you at least tell them I want to get in touch with them? Mr. Osawa, Kajiwara said, frowning. This isn't a good time to have someone drawing attention to your home. All right, I'll get rid of him. Osawa hurried out of the house, confronting Osawa hurried out of the house, confronting Minarikawa through the front gate. Jump! Oh, can't jump. The journalist had that tenacious look that immediately marked him as a member of the media. Give me your business card, Osawa said. I'll have them get in touch with you later. He took Minarikawa's card and then went right back inside. Back in his study, Osawa tossed Minarikawa's business card into the trash. Unable to think of what else to do, he tried the internet fortune teller again. He got the same "you're a very work-minded person" result the second time. If you don't get over your indifference to the world might start to harbor quite a grudge. My indifference to the world around me, huh? The truth was that even with his closest companions, even with Tanaka for instance, his relationship had always been strictly a matter of business. He'd never really taken it upon himself to get to know Tanaka as a person, and that was pretty much the case for everyone he knew. He harbored no interest in other people. He had no concern for his fellow man. That had made itself abundantly clear when he received a microscope as a birthday present way back in his first grade. Even now, he still remembered the shock he felt when he looked through that lens for the first time. He discovered a new, almost infinite world hidden in the mists of one he'd always thought was too small. By comparison, the real world seemed bland and ugly. Wherever he looked, wherever he went, he had to contend with tedium. It hadn't taken long for him to become more charmed by the world under his microscope than the one around him. It was like a calm, quiet little seaside, a beach, where he could just sit and stare out at the waves. He wanted to stay immersed in that world forever and ever. Before he knew it, he was an adult. Oh no! And as we know, adults are the worst. And then a husband, and then a father. The people around him thought him an odd fella. But he hadn't let that change the way he lived his life. And this now was the result. He hadn't been betrayed by Tanaka. He didn't know Tanaka well enough for that. Find a way to connect more deeply with the people around you and start living a better life before it's too late. Just do that and you're sure to have a wonderful future ahead. Osawa picked up his cell phone and dialed Tanaka's number. I tried calling him repeatedly and hadn't gotten through. It was doubtful that he'd pick up. Still, Osawa had to try. The phone rang several times. He listened grimly to the empty mechanical sound, preparing himself for disappointment. What is it? Tanaka's voice sounded coldly in Osawa's ear. The tension was electric. Keep out door. And this is why we need to start consulting internet fortune tellers. That's true. That's why I'm going to do a tarot reading stream soon. So I'll be able to divine all your fortunes. Yes, who is it? He sounded rather guarded. It's Minorikawa. Where might I know you from, Mr. Minorikawa? Oh, you know, here and there. I mean, there's only one Minorikawa, really. There isn't, though. Are you playing games with me? I don't have time for that. Please, just open up. There's no way I'm letting you in. The discussion was getting them nowhere. Minorikawa decided he'd have to take the direct approach. Look, just hold your horses. I'm here for an interview. You got that? An interview? He'd taken the bait. Most folks could hardly resist the word interview. That's right. It's a piece for 4-star general gossip. Wait. This is for one of those kinds of articles. The man sounded angry now. What do you mean, those kinds of articles? I'm just looking for an interview. Like hell you are. I'm not talking to anyone from the gossip. You're not the one I'm here to talk to. I want to interview your twin daughters. My daughters? No parent would deny their children a chance for word of their achievements to spread. I understand they won a shared prize for a beauty contest at Midoriyama Academy. If you wouldn't mind my interviewing them, the intercom cut out before Minorikawa could finish. Hey, what gives? I'm begging out here on my hands and knees. He wasn't actually on his hands and knees, but whoever was on the other end couldn't see that. But they could. If your daughters aren't home, can you at least tell them I want to get in touch with them? He wasn't even using the intercom now. He was just shouting over the gate. A man stepped out of the front door. Give me your business card, he said. I'll have them get in touch with you later. The man had a somewhat stricken look on his face. That had to be Kenji Osawa then. Wait, hold on. Osawa? Now Minorikawa recognized him. This was Kenji Osawa, the preeminent virologist who worked for Okoshi Pharmaceutical. 4-star general gossip had run a scandalous article on him in the past. Minorikawa remembered reading it. He held out his business card and Osawa snatched it from him. The virologist started to head back into his house. Please see that they get back to me, Mr. Osawa, Minorikawa shouted after him. And then he noticed something odd. It was the middle of the afternoon, but every window in the house had its curtains drawn. That, combined with Osawa's demeanor, set off alarm bells in Minorikawa's head. He knew he was onto something, but he couldn't linger at the Osawa residence any longer than he had already. He needed to get to that theater ASAP. He hurried back to the taxi and told Kimizuka to go. A few minutes later, the rear tires skidded sharply as the cab came to a stop beside a different curb. The trip from Shoto to the theater in Sakuragaoka had taken almost no time at all. Here we are, sir, Kimizuka announced. Wow, that was fast. Still, Minorikawa was still at least 5 minutes behind schedule. He'd hoped he'd still be able to get the interview with Orai. Or Orai. Keep out, sir. Okay, whomst among you? Kano? Well, we got Aki. That got a bad end, so we need to change that. And Kano's not done. Mr. Osawa, is everything all right? The line went dead. Guess that answers that well enough, Kano said as he put away his phone. Now it was clear why the criminals were after Hitomi. He saw an uneasy look on Stanley's face. Something on your mind? Kano asked. Stanley responded with a question of his own. If Hitomi was carrying the antiviral, how were the criminals planning on getting it from her? I keep forgetting who brought us this game. It was Freeport. Well, taking her by force at the scramble posed too high of a risk, he said. There were nearly 100 detectives there, and they must have guessed there would be. That's why they devised the attaché case relay. They wanted to abduct Hitomi somewhere away from the Dragnet's notice. That was the plan that all the signs seemed to suggest, but still. I wonder how they managed to lead her away from police protection. A look of revelation crossed Stanley's face. All they needed to do was convince her to go of her own accord. But how? And then it came to him. He thought back to Hitomi's initial contact with Tariq al-Karawan. Just before he'd taken the attaché case from her, the two had a brief conversation. It was possible al-Karawan had given Hitomi some form of instructions then. Guess we're back to tracking down al-Karawan again, huh? Kano could tell from the look on Stanley's eyes that he was on the verge of saying something. Probably some remark about how Tatno had allowed al-Karawan to run free. Right now, Kano wasn't going to argue the point. After this case was resolved, he'd discover what Tatno's real motives were. And once he did, Stanley would eat his words. In the meantime, we can't just wander around looking without any leads, he said. Till we get more intel, let's see what we can do with the security cameras back at the precinct. It's like in Yakuza, the florist. Numerous monitors shone down on the pair as they entered the Shibuya precinct's surveillance room. Each showed an array of faces of individuals somewhere in Shibuya. Kano asked one of the operators to pull up al-Karawan's data on screen. He's 6'3". He's huge. By selecting each of the faces on the monitors, in turn, they could run comparisons to determine if anyone among them was al-Karawan. One by one, the operator made his way through the faces. Assuming their target was still in Shibuya, there was still a high likelihood, they would find him. But the minutes ticked past, and there was no sign of him. Kano's tone grew more and more impatient as he directed the operator's search. Just calm down, Stanley said. He set a hand on Kano's shoulder. You keep wasting your energy when you don't need to. That's just how I do things, Kano replied. I'm energetic because I care. He pointed out another face to the operator. Well, you're setting yourself up for a short life. With a sigh, Stanley sank into a nearby chair. My brother was like you. The American spoke so quietly that his words were barely audible. 10 minutes later, a man clad in black appeared in one of the monitors. The operator lined up his cursor. The comparison check confirmed that it was al-Karawan. Yes! Kano hissed, pumping his fist. It appeared that their quarry was simply walking around town, calm and composed. Kano radioed in al-Karawan's location to Kuze. All units, intercept the suspect on the double, Kuze ordered. Kano will provide guidance using the surveillance monitors. They saw Al-Karawan stop in front of a cigarette vending machine. Is he waiting for someone? Sasayama reporting. I've got eyes on the mutt. But what is the mutt? Do we still do the voice thing? It's been 20 minutes though, so. Well, a mutt. Yes. Okay.
Mutt is a perpetrator. Hook to put someone in cuffs. Dipper, pickpocket, wants, outstanding warrants, hang paper to write multiple citations, and other such traditional police jargon.
Kano's partner had evidently been nearby. I'm making the arrest, he said. There was a note of courage in Sasayama's voice. He came into view on the monitor, walking casually. At some point, he ditched his anime nerd costume for a cat mascot suit. Oh no, Kano muttered. That getup's gonna make Sasayama stand out like a sore thumb. Shoot! The mutt spotted me. I'm going in pursuit. Sasayama slipped out of the camera's view. Whoa! What gives? Let go of me! You're Mr. Yanagishita, right? Look, I'm sorry, but I really need you to return that costume. The voices came in over the wireless. It sounded like Sasayama was caught up in an argument with someone. Sasayama! Kano shouted at it as he eyed the monitor. Kano, I need some help here. Requesting emergency backup. The line went dead before Sasayama could finish. Kano didn't have the faintest idea what was going on, but obviously his partner needed him. He rushed out the precinct. When he arrived on the scene, he saw Sasayama, still in the catsuit, caught up in a scuffle with a man he'd never seen before. There was no sign of Al-Karawan. I like how they're using the Tama music for Sasayama. Sasayama, what's going on? That's an excellent question, Sasayama replied. This guy just came at me out of nowhere. You sounded pretty riled up. Sir, I need you to return this costume. My boss was very insistent on that point. Man was panting with exertion, shouting in Sasayama's face. Was he the owner of the suit? What's the deal with that thing anyway, Sasayama? Kano asked. I bought it at a variety store on Center Guy. I figured it'd be a perfect disguise. I didn't steal anything. Sir, I'm telling you, you need to give that back. And I'm telling you, you got no idea. I've got no idea what you're talking about. Sasayama stamped his foot. I realize that you're not Mr. Yanagishita. That isn't the issue. I just need you to return the costume. All right, sure, I'll give it to you. I just need it a little longer, so let go of me. Can't do that, sir. I need you to get out of that suit right now. Yeah, I get that, buddy, but no can do. It's like I told you before. The zipper on this thing snagged. Kano watched as the argument descended further and further into absurdity. Meanwhile, Al-Karawan was getting away. This was ridiculous. This was ridiculous. He turned to go in pursuit of the suspect. Kano, wait! Sasayama called out. Come on, help me out, man. Huh? Help me get this thing off. Now's really not the time for this, Kano replied. I'm going after the suspect. Oh, I get it. You're gonna ditch me here so you can take all the credit for yourself. Whoa, what? I was this close to nabbing the guy. That arrest is mine to make. And you know it. It wasn't as though Kano couldn't empathize. If Sasayama hadn't been blindsided by this random stranger, he probably would have caught Al-Karawan just fine. All right then, Kano said. He reached for the zipper at the back of the catsuit. But as Sasayama said, the metal fittings were snagged and refused to budge. Hurry up! I'm trying! There wasn't any time to do this carefully. Kano yanked down the zipper hard. Stop! The stranger shrieked in alarm. Don't be so rough like that. But if I don't, I'll never. You mustn't. If you aren't careful, you'll cause a malfunction. Malfunction? What is this guy talking about? Kano got an even firmer grip on the zipper and pulled again. Meow. He paused in surprise as Sasayama mewled. Again, Sasayama let out a little cry. Except it didn't sound like Sasayama's voice at all. Guys? There's something making a rumbling noise inside of this thing. He sounded pretty alarmed. Uh-oh, said the other man. It has started. His face went pale. What are you talking about? Sasayama demanded. What started? The man hesitated, then seemed to come to a decision. Well, you see, this is no ordinary cot costume. Meaning what exactly? Our shop rented out this unit by mistake. Oh, I had no idea it was anything so horrifying. Not until the boss filled me in a little while ago. What's horrifying? You're not answering the question. The man's gaze grew hollow and distant. Cats, he said. For a moment, there was only silence. Then Sasayama spoke nervously. Yeah, it's a cat. I know that already. No, you're not listening. This is a cat! Like I said, I already know it's a cat. Anyone can see that just from looking at it. No, not a cat. Cats! Costume as transmission system developed by Far East Costume Rental's high-tech department. There was an official corporate notice stating this is just a prototype and potentially dangerous. Do not lend it out under any circumstance. But it was accidentally rented by mistake. Oh, the voice. Well, yeah, the curry's over though, so. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow. You know what? Meow. Meow, 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 meow. The meowing started back up again. With each new mewl, the sound got faster. Soon, it sounded less like a cat and more like some mechanism that was whirring about. Most hardworking Twitch streamer. There was a sudden, fierce, blinding flash. Space itself began to warp in a roughly 3-meter radius around Sasayama and his costume. A moment later, Kano and the others had vanished. Bad end. Cats. All right, I think that'll be a good time to stop for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, we have another stream Oh, I'm sorry. We've got another stream in 2.5 hours. We're going to be playing Dino Crisis. And probably the end of Dino Crisis as well. So tune in for that. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.